We good, ladies?
Yeah, we're shopping.
You're shopping. Oh, geez. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Payson, how we doing up there?
Can hear you loud and clear.
Thanks, Joseph. Cassie, we're good on YouTube? Right on. How many we have signed in so far? About 10? Hopefully we'll pick up some more. Okay, straight up at 10 o'clock. This is Tuesday, October 3rd, and I'll call this meeting to order. And Velma Tucker is going to lead us in the pledge this morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
You would bow with me, please. Thank you, Father, for the opportunities that you provide for us. We pray for wisdom to make good decisions. We pray, Father, that you would continue to bless us, this county, this nation. We pray, Father, that as we consider decisions, that you would guide us to provide those decisions that most benefit the people here in Gila County. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, starting with number 2, presentations. 2A, we have a public recognition of 9 employees through the county's Spotlight on Employees program. And Erica will lead us through this. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. As mentioned, we do have 9 employees that were nominated. We'll go through the nominations. 8 of them were actually a group nomination, and their spotlight nomination read, on August 7, 2023, a fire broke out at 8 p.m. at the Buckhead-Lesa landfill. ADOT notified county staff and the Payson Fire Department, and they were dispatched to the fire. Public Works Director Homero Vela was the first to arrive on site. He did an amazing job coordinating between the fire department and staff to create a plan to contain the fire. They worked through the night to extinguish the fire, with many remaining at Buckhead Mesa landfill until 4 a.m. We would like to recognize these employees for their hard work and perseverance in this tough situation. Thank you. This was submitted by Melanie Mendez. So our employees that were nominated were Homero Vela. He's been with the county for 5 years. And if you'd like to come up and say anything, or
For about what? I'm sorry.
oh, that.
Thought she was looking at me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't get a speech, Homer?
Yeah, actually, I would like to say something. I'm involved because happenstance. I happen to be at the Safeway in Payson contributing my sales tax money. When I got a call from Brent Klein, who had heard from the fire department, Pine Strawberry Fire Department, first to respond, and a lot of kudos belong to them. They were putting out the fire when I got there. By the time I got there, of course, Melanie knew about this, and we started calling folks, and the folks broke away from whatever they were doing. Melanie and I decided that we would have Wayne Jones come supervise our efforts, because he would be closer than Melanie, and then Melanie would show up the next morning early and take over, and that's what happened. The folks, I stayed there till about 10 o'clock. And I did very little other than make phone calls. But there was folks manning the water trucks, our team from the landfill, folks manning a bulldozer, pushing the material into the fire, and of course the fire department, who stayed there till the flames were extinguished, and our team stayed there till the early morning, smothering the fire out with water. What I did, a couple of things that I did learn. One of them is our water trucks push out a lot more water than the hoses from the fire truck. The hoses from the fire truck are like, they're pinpoint accuracy, they're long distance. But when we put that water truck to work, and Jasmine was the first to operate a water truck, she actually used to be a scale house operator who has moved up the chain of opportunities with the Gila County. And that night when she showed up, she got in a water truck, and as soon as she started pushing water onto the fire, it started to get extinguished. And then later on, folks from the Star Valley Road Yard showed up. Many of Wayne's team was there. Wayne Jones's team were there, and they get acknowledged right now. And they worked till that next day till the fire was completely out. But it was like a team effort, working with the fire department. Folks that are ready to respond at any hour of the day or night, any day of the week. That's the kind of team we have, and I'm proud to be a member of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Homer.
All right. The rest of our honorary firefighter crew. We have Stuart Wayne Jones, who's been with the county over 11 years, and I believe he's up in Payson. And of course, if any of the Payson staff would like to say anything, you're welcome to. We have Kenneth Sadathite, who's been with the county over a year. Forrest Horton, who's been with the county for 3 months. Samuel Bach, who's been with the county over 2 months. Daniel Gale, who's been with the county over 5 years. And Jasmine, who's been with the county over 2 years. And that concludes our first nomination.
Thank you, Erica. Any of you guys want to say anything, or are you good? I think they're good.
And no speeches prepared, so we'll move on. Next, we have a spotlight nomination for Trent Moores. His nomination read, Trent quickly responded to an emergency call from the Payson Sheriff's Office jail after hours. A blocked sewer line had caused contamination in the facility, but Trent was able to repair it and get critical infrastructure back online in a short amount of time. He then ensured the facility was properly cleaned and sanitized, allowing the 24/7 critical facility to remain operational. Trent is with our Facilities and Land Management Department and has been with the county over 2 years. And that does conclude our nominations.
Good deal. Thank you, Erica. And congratulations, Trent, and congratulations to the rest of you guys. Supervisor Humphrey, you have something you want to say?
I just want to say thank you very much for your dedication, and thanks for showing up today, even if you didn't want to say anything.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thanks. We're really proud of all of our employees. It sounds like Trent's the one that got the dirty job, though. So
Yeah.
anyway, thanks a lot.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erica. Okay, on to public hearings. Number 3A, information, discussion, action to convene a public hearing to hear from citizens on the FY23 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, application for FY23, CDBG Regional Account Funding in the amount of $150,107. Good morning, Kaylee. You're it.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. So this is to open a public hearing for CDBG funding, which is $150,107. There's no matching requirement with this funding. And I actually have Angela from CAG if she wants to speak to what it is that we can and can't do. But the requirements are it has to benefit an area that is 51% or more low to moderate income, prevent or eliminate slum and blight, or address an urgent need due to a natural disaster or human health hazard.
Okay, thank you, Kaylee. Supervisor Humphrey, questions?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christensen?
My only question is, why do we have to have a public hearing for this? Like, it's just we're applying for grant, right?
Yeah, right. Come on up. You can explain these
no.
details better than I can. State your name, please.
Angela Gatto with Central Arizona Governments. The purpose of a public hearing is so that the community has an opportunity to bring forward projects that they would like to see happen within the county. Only projects that are discussed at this meeting can actually be voted on and sent forward for funding. So we'll have a list from this meeting. We'll have a second public hearing at the end of October for the board to decide which project they want to choose from what comes out of this. We have to advertise it so that if people were not in attendance, they have an opportunity to submit comments to the board on what they would like to see voted on.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you so much. So I'm good. So with that, I'll open up a public hearing. Is there anyone in Payson that wants to speak to it?
No, sir.
Okay, how about here? I don't see anyone here. So I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to convene a public
Mr.
hearing
Chairman.
to hear.
Oh, hey, hold on just 1 minute, Supervisor Humphrey.
You have to discuss potential projects that you want to see used for this funding.
I don't know that we can even do that, be honestly, since we're really not ready for it, are we? Board,
Do you have some projects in mind? Excuse me.
go ahead, Supervisor Humphrey.
My suggestion would be to utilize the funding for housing rehabilitation to add to what my department does currently with our other housing rehab funding.
What about Blythe?
That's a great question.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
these funds have typically been used by community development for housing rehabilitation, as Kaylee says. So we could continue to do that. I know Town of Miami, they are using their CDBG money for a step Keystone Stairs in Miami. So there are a number of other projects. If there have not been any submitted, if we're not prepared to discuss those, I would suggest there is a time consideration, and I'll have to look to Angela to see if we can do this, but put this off for a couple weeks that we can hold our preliminary hearing to get these ideas together and work with each of you to be able to have a discussion, meaningful discussion on the different potential uses for these projects. Would probably be more appropriate.
So I would lean on the board for that and see what our comfort level is as a board. Do you want to table it for a couple of weeks and get some ideas in front of us, or do we want to throw it to the wind and go on with it?
Well, Mr. Chair, I do know that for housing for elderly and people that can't afford it, I know you have a backlist that you'll probably never catch up on.
Yes, sir.
And also too, funding probably doesn't make it through some of your projects, so adding to some of that. And on your rehabilitation, it goes from everything from windows to roofing to whatever that particular property may need. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so on a housing rehab, there wouldn't be a restriction to this funding. I mean, as far as what you can use it for. And so some of your other funding limits you
Yes, sir.
on what projects you can do with that funding.
Correct.
So if you go into a house that needs windows and a roof, but another funding will do the insulation of the windows, but they won't do the roof, this would allow you funding to help them with a complete project. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I'm fine to go ahead and make a motion because they've got a backlist. But if you would care to
Yeah, no, I'm,
come up with certain projects to pinpoint which particular projects we'd use this for.
no,
That's why I asked her the questions that I did, because if we pinpoint it, then that's all we can use it for. And I think it would be better use to the department to be able to plug in as they need to for a list that they already have.
I don't disagree with that. And if that's, see, I didn't realize that in the past is what money like this been used for, James. So I thought this was something new. But if that's the case, I'm good with that, because as Kaylee said, we never get ahead of that list.
Right.
We never do.
And it would just help complete a complete project, because some of the other funding that she gets has earmarks that they can only use
Yeah.
for certain things.
James?
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say that's how we've used it in the past, and whether I was short-sighted or whatever, that I didn't think outside it, that there were some projects that we needed to consider. It was my assumption that we would continue to use it for housing to help those that don't have safe, secure homes to live in.
Yeah.
It was my assumption that that's how the board would proceed.
You comfortable with that, Supervisor Christensen?
Yep.
Okay, so with that, the only question, we're gonna go that way. I see a side note that maybe there isn't an action needed, but there is an action needed. So Supervisor Humphrey, if you'll continue on with your motion, we'll wrap this one up.
Okay, and there will be another hearing, is that what I understand? Okay. Then to convene a public hearing to hear from citizens on the fiscal year 2023 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, application for fiscal year 2023 CDBG regional account funding in the amount of $150 $107.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Kaylee. And thank you. Thank you for being here this morning. On to 3B, information, discussion, action to consider a liquor license application, county number LL-23-15, submitted by Jennifer Wright for a new series 010 beer and wine store license with an interim permit application to use the existing license at Cherry Creek Store 47832 Highway 288 in Young, and issue a recommendation to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control whether the license should be granted. Sam?
Good morning, Chairman and board members. Thank you. As stated, this is a Series 10 beer and wine store liquor license application with an interim permit to operate for the Cherry Creek store located in Young. The county does have an internal review process whereby the treasurer reviews the application and ensures that the applicant is current on all property tax payments for properties owned in Gila County. The Health Department and Building Permitting Department both review the application. To date, there have been no issues reported for the Cherry Creek store, and the clerk of the board's office recommends you proceed with the public hearing.
Thank you, Sam. Supervisor Humphrey, you having comments, questions?
I have no questions.
Supervisor Christians?
No question.
Neither do I, so I'll open up for public hearing. In Payson, do we have anyone, Joseph?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. And do we have anyone here? Doesn't look like it, so I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend that the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control approve the liquor license application submitted by Jennifer Wright for the Cherry Creek store.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. On to 3C. Information, discussion, action to consider a liquor license application, county number LL-23-16, submitted by Carol Mace for a location requalification of a Series 007 beer and wine license at Rockhouse River Ranch, 5732 North Highway 288 Globe, and issue a recommendation to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control whether the license should be granted. And I'm sorry, I just read all that for you, didn't I? Sam, you can go on with it.
Thank you. As stated, this is a location requalification for Series 7 beer and wine bar liquor store license or liquor license application for the Rockhouse River Ranch located in Globe. The county does have an internal review process whereby the treasurer reviews the application and ensures that the applicant is current on property tax payments for all properties owned in Gila County. The Health Department and Building Permitting Department both review the application. To date, there have been no issues reported for the Rockhouse River Ranch relevant to the liquor license. Location requalification is a liquor license application that the county does not see very often. Ms. Mace has a unique situation for the license due to the delayed construction of her establishment. On September 11th, 2019, Ms. Carol Mace applied for an owner transfer of a Series 7 beer and wine bar license for the Rockhouse River Ranch, which the Board of Supervisors recommended approval of on November 5th, 2019. Ms. Mace was issued a Series 7 beer and wine bar license by the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control following that November 5th BOS meeting. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Ms. Mace was not able to progress the construction of the Rockhouse River Ranch establishment or use the liquor license. Therefore, the DLLC, Department of Liquor Licenses, is requesting that the Board of Supervisors redo the local governing body recommendation form and issue a recommendation on whether the license should be granted. Her estimated completion for construction is June of 2025. The clerk of the board's office recommends to proceed with the public hearing, and can take any questions.
Thank you, Sam. Supervisor Humphrey?
Mr. Chair, I have no questions, but I do have a comment. At first, I visited with Steph and Mrs. Mason, and they thought that it was going to be opened, and the building is not ready to be open. But at this time, she's not applying to open it. When she purchased it, the license was on hold. It wasn't being operated at that time. And so it's been a length of time that the state wants to reapply for that. And she still wants to keep that on hold. So I think it's a great thing. The Rock House had been operating forever. And I think when she is able to do construction, that that then it'll come back before us, but then Public Works and Planning and Zoning and everyone will then look at the building closer, but right now, there's no need for any of that, because it's just to keep it active, but on hold.
Supervisor Christensen?
I have no questions.
And neither do I, but I do have a comment, and I really want to thank Carol Mace for all the work that they've done there. And there has been, just, hang on just a minute. Yeah, come on up, Carol.
I have to apologize. I am completely hearing impaired at this point in my life. I never heard a word you said or any of you. I apologize. But I will tell you something about myself. I was raised in this area, Globe, Miami. I raised my family here. I married my husband, Bob. He ran the airport at Globe for years with his father before him. So we spent our entire life in this community. But when the county, I guess, and the city decided to let go of the airport, it went back to the Indian tribe. We stayed there for several more years, and then we left and moved to Globe and opened our business down there. I'm a pilot. I have a multi-engine rating. My husband's all rated, helicopters, everything, all of us, my whole family. We're in the airplane business in Mesa. You can go to our website, www.maceaviation.com, and you'll see what we do. I was a builder in Gold Canyon. I had 2 communities. I had a townhome community and a custom home community. I had 22 lots in each of those. Those are all built out. I think there's a few empty lots that someone bought. I didn't sell them to him. But anyway, so I've been in the building business my whole life, and my husband and I have also ran our aviation business. I saw that property out there and completely fell in love with it, but I have to say that every time I drive by there, I kept saying, oh my God, this place really looks terrible, needs some work. Well, so we got busy and we cleaned the place up. However, those weeds don't stop growing. They continue to grow, and when it rained like it did this last season, we literally spent our whole life mowing. I did anyway, my daughter and I, mowing weeds. But we stopped mowing when it got hot. We were afraid we were going to set the field behind us on fire, because there was fires all over the place. But anyway, we look forward to developing that property, and it's going to be very similar to what it is now, but a very upgraded version of it. And so that's our plan for that property, and I apologize that I didn't hear a thing you said. I guess I'll be good in that bar. I'll get a bunch of guys in there drinking, and I won't hear a word they're saying.
There you go. Yeah, that's perfect.
But I've never run a bar before, I'll tell you that.
Well, first time for everything. Well, thank you so much, and I want to thank you guys for what you've done down there.
I can't hear you.
Come up, because it'll be on record anyway. I just wanted to make sure and thank you and your husband for what you're doing out there. It does look way better than it did.
Absolutely. I've never worked so hard in my whole life, but I have to say that I've enjoyed it more than anything I've ever done.
Yeah.
We love it out there.
Thank you.
I wanted a saguaro for my house in Pink Creek, never could afford one, and now I have a whole mountain.
Yes, you do.
Thank you all.
All right. If we're good there, I'll open the public hearing now. And we'll start with Globe, and Globe's done, so we'll go to Payson. Do we have anybody in Payson, Joseph?
No, sir.
We're good. So with that, I'd entertain a motion. I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to recommend to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Control to approve the liquor license application submitted by Carol Mace for the Rockhouse River Ranch.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
All right, so we're done with presentations. We'll go on to regular agenda items. 4A, information, discussion, action to elect a chairman and vice chairman of the Board of Supervisors for a term of 16 months, which will become effective immediately after the October 3rd, today's meeting, Board of Supervisors regular meeting. And James?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it has been our typical common practice for the Board of Supervisors to have a rotating chairmanship for the Board of Supervisors of approximately equal lengths of time for the 4-year term that each of you are elected. That term was for this election cycle. Stuart Humphrey was the chairman from January 20 January 1st, 2021 through April 30th, 2022. Supervisor Klein, Chairman Klein has been from May 2022 through till now. And it's for your consideration that to determine if you would like to select a new chairman and to have that opportunity for this last third of this election cycle.
James, thank you. Supervisor Humphrey, comments, questions, discussions?
You know, there's a lot of thought that goes into something like this, and a lot of work, especially when you have pandemics and fires and things like that going on. So yeah, there's just a lot of thought that goes into it, but I believe that I've been chairman several times, and you've been chairman several times, and I think that being that Supervisor Christensen has not been chair as of yet and has had his seat for a while, Mr. Chair, I would probably like to nominate Supervisor Christensen for chairman and I for co-chairman.
Supervisor Christensen, are you ready?
I don't know, but I will second that motion.
I was gonna say, if he doesn't know, I'll change it.
That's why I'm asking. We have time.
I'd be happy to serve in any capacity that anyone asks me to, and so I'll second that motion. That was.
Well, hang on there for a minute. You'll get your chance here real shortly. I like the 16-month rotation. You know, prior to us coming on the board, I believe the chairmanship sat in one position for a long time. Whatever the reasons was, I don't care. But since we've been on the board, I do feel like it's only fair that we each have a shot at it, and there is added responsibilities. The one thing that I will say, and from my standpoint in particular, you know, chairmanship is just about this meeting. That's really all it is. I mean, there's times when you'll get a phone call to work on an issue or whatever, but it doesn't give any one of us any extra powers. It doesn't. And it still comes, everything comes down to the majority of the board. And so, but I think with that being said, I think it's fair that we all have an equal share in the chairmanship, and it's good experience. It really is. I mean, you deal with a few things that you wouldn't maybe normally deal with, but overall it's good experience. So I'm glad of the 16-month rotation and the way it's been going. I know we held Steve back when it first started because Steve was new in his position. Remember, he would have stepped right straight into the chairmanship at the time, and we just switched, you know, basically me around and to do that. So I'm game.
That was beneficial.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was, you know, because I could only go back to tell you when I first stepped on this board, I was totally lost, you know, and probably still am today to some extent. So, you know.
I'll second that one.
Yeah. So anyway, James.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to express appreciation to each of you as elected representatives of Gila County. You're the ones that control the financial things, which you have to allocate dollars to do absolutely anything. I'm appreciative to each of you for your sacrifice, your willingness to step out and be in public and represent and be the face of Gila County. So I appreciate each of you.
Thank you, James. Yes, sir.
And one more thing, and a lot of these agenda meetings and things that come on the agenda, and people that have tried to get on the agenda know that it's sometimes difficult and takes time to get on the agenda. And so Chairman and James, County Manager, they're the ones that kind of figure what's going on the agenda. And so it's nice to work with a board instead of one person being chairman all the time. It gives us, like if I have something that I really would like to get on the agenda, or some of my constituents do, then that will help me get things on the agenda. And so it's nice to work with a board that we do work for our constituents and willing to pass this around. So if the people in Young really are asking something, then you can help, or the people of Payson in that area, or like my district. So it's great to work for a board that we don't mind sharing and working together for the betterment of the county.
Thank you for that, Tim, because you're right. And one thing I will say, whether, you know, I feel like as a board we do work very well together. And there's times we disagree and there's things that we vote differently on. But overall, we do work good together and all that. And so, and I've always felt like whether there's an agenda item that me as chair agreed with or not, it would come up in this group for discussion, because I'm not the one to sit there and say yay, nay, or whatever on things like that. It's up to our board to do that, and then the majority rules. So I think as chairmanship, that's really, really important to keep in mind. But the other thing, if you think back to the time we were really having issues with contracts and getting things moving, basically, in our processes, the chairman has the ability to call special meetings, working with the clerk of the board, which we have a plus there since James is clerk of the board and manager to boot. So that was something that really came to light with me this last 16 months, that is a big help on that. Not that we did a lot of it, but it could happen. So if there's no other discussions, I'd call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to appoint Steve Christensen as chairman of the Board of Supervisors and appoint Tim Humphrey as vice chair of the Board of Supervisors.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank you.
James. Okay, moving on to B. I'll need a motion to recess as the Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as a Gila County Board of Deposit.
So moved, Chairman.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. And Maren, good morning.
Good morning, Chairman, and Vice Chairman, right? For today at least. We're here this morning with our renewal with our banking services contract for your approval. We went out for proposals and solicited proposals from relevant vendors. We received one proposal from JP Morgan Chase Bank, and we are here this morning to request your signature on the contract for that bidder.
Thank you, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey, comments or questions?
I have no comments.
Supervisor Christensen,
Neither do I. Thanks, Mayor.
same as last time, right? Everything? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Maren. And with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to award a contract to JP Morgan Chase Bank in response to request for proposal number 061423 as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries, and I'll need a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Board of Deposit and to reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Maren.
Thank you.
On to C, information discussion action to approve service agreement State of Arizona contract number CTR 059323 with Santan Ford Partners LLC in the amount of $115,410.29 for the purchase of one 2023 Ford F-350 4x4 cab chassis as outlined in the specifications. David, good morning.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. So, as you just read, we're seeking approval to use state contract CTR 059323 to purchase a new 2023 Ford F-350 chassis cab from Santan. This truck will be outfitted with a custom fiberglass dog bed. This truck will be used by the Health Department's Animal Control Division for the purpose of transporting animals and the other various duties that they are assigned. The total cost of this vehicle is $115,410.29. And to prevent increasing the size of the fleet, they will be turning in vehicle B204, which is a 2011 Ford F-150 with 177,059 miles. This vehicle has exceeded one out of the three parameters used to determine replacement and is close to exceeding the second. I do have, if you have any further questions, I do have both John Castaneda and Paula Horn live from the TCM building for any further questions.
Perfect, David. Supervisor Humphrey, questions, comments?
Well, I got comments and questions. My first comment is we probably should get 2 trucks for that amount. That's a lot of money for a truck.
Yeah.
That's my comment. And my question is, are you pulling trailers or something with that truck? I'm just wondering why we need a 3/4 ton vehicle.
I can answer that. So yeah, we're going to be hauling our mobile unit that we have right now. It's a mobile trailer. We've had a lot of issues with the trucks that we are using right now. They overheat pulling our trailer, and we've had to pull over with animals in the back of the trailer. We've had to call staff to use their personal vehicles to come and get our trailer and continue on to the event that they're going to. During the fires, we've had to use our personal vehicles to pull horse trailers. We've had to pull flatbed trailers to move hay from one area to another. The trucks that we're using right now are just not equipped to do that. And so we are having some issues with that.
Mr. Chair, yeah, thank you very much. We do a great job. We're not good at telling great stories. And so sometimes I ask questions to expand on actually what you're doing. And so thank you very much. And it shows how much you do and have used personal vehicles because you didn't have the proper equipment. I still think we should have 2 for that cost, but thank you very much. And I do believe that's real justified.
Supervisor Christensen?
Yeah, thank you. Just to comment, I talked to David earlier, so I kind of understand what we're doing. So thank you, David.
David, I got a question for you. I'm not hammering on you or anybody, but we bought those 350 dump trucks, and they're overloaded, even though you guys have beefed up the suspensions a little bit on them. What would be the opportunity of taking and changing this to a 550 and then take one of those 350s out of Public Works and give it to Animal? And then we have an adequate truck for those spreaders.
I mean, that could be doable. I'd have to figure out who would be doing it because at the moment we don't have the staff to do it or the time. So, I mean, that could potentially be an option that we could look at.
My thought is for $115,000, I can't imagine that a 550 cabin chassis would be much more than that. It shouldn't be. And then we can take those 450s or 350s that you purchased. They don't have very many miles on them. And we just roll one of those into your animal control folks.
So if I can add something real quick, the cab and chassis, but that includes the new cab that's going to go on the back of that animal control truck too.
Cool. I mean, that ain't coming with the truck. That's going to be coming probably from another vendor or something, or a roundabout way.
Yeah.
But no worries there. He's still going one of those 350s that we have. We're running those spreaders in Public Works on the highways. They're marginal. They will work, I will say, but they are marginal when it comes to weight.
And the other big difference that what we're asking for here is actually a crew cab. And the trucks that the roads department currently has are single cab. So with the crew cab, obviously you can.
Sometimes we don't get everything we want, David.
This is true, but
yeah,
that's what we were requesting, and we were requesting crew cab just for the option to haul more staffing. I guess is the word.
Right.
So, but I just want all the issues.
John might have a really big pet dog that needs to be up in that crew cab, but maybe not. I don't know.
No, we got some big ones, trust me.
So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there on the table as an idea, because that is a way we can avoid an issue with what we have, and we still have really good trucks sitting there as well. Comments or questions from the board? Supervisor Humphrey?
I'm good. I've made my comments. Thanks.
Supervisor Christensen.
The only thing I would say is if we go ahead and approve this with the caveat that David would look into what you're asking and see whether or not we could change later, have a report on that. Go ahead and move through this motion and then have him report back whether or not we should change it.
I don't think we should do that. I think we should make a decision. We buy a 350 or we buy a 550. and we avert an issue with our 350, or we go ahead and keep them like they are and run with the animal control rig. Because, I mean, the options are there. David knows that. 550s are out there and all that.
Okay, then that opens another question for me.
Okay?
You say we don't have the staff, we don't have the talent, or we don't have the numbers?
We don't have the numbers.
Okay, so if we did change a motion, then animal control would do without, because we don't have the people to put together your recommendation, from what I understand.
So my understanding, Homero can correct me if I'm wrong, or David can too, but we have vendors out there that can do this. If we don't have it in-house, I'll guarantee you there's somebody here very close that can switch a unit around.
Yeah, I definitely do. I could find someone to, what we would have to do is remove the bed from the current one, and then we'd have to actually somehow figure out how to ship this to, I can't remember, if we were to buy this truck here, it would be drop shipped to this facility, and I can't remember if it's in Oklahoma. Do you remember, John?
I think it is Oklahoma. I'm not sure.
So it would be drop shipped to that location. So we would have to find a vendor to remove all of our stuff, and then we would have to somehow get it transported to this vendor.
Do we not have a vendor in Arizona, David?
That does this custom dog stuff? No.
Why do we need custom dog stuff? Those kennels or those units on the back of those trucks are made by a manufacturer somewhere that can be shipped to some other outfit, whatever state there is, to put this together.
Yeah, to my knowledge, there's two big companies in the United States that do these custom like dog boxes. One's in Florida, and the other one's like in, I think it's Oklahoma. I'd have to double check on that. But they're built custom from the ground up. So when they receive the truck, they start building the bed. They don't just build the bed and ship it to you.
And these climate controlled in the back of these things, so they're not out in the sun and the heat and cold, snow, rain and stuff like that. They're all climate controlled in the back.
So you're telling me that every animal control unit we see in the state of Arizona is put together in Florida, Oklahoma, some other place? For
yes,
real?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Homer, help me here, because I'm having a pretty rough time right now.
This is what good morning, Chairman and board members. Sorry that I didn't greet you earlier. This is what we do at the board meetings. Even though it's not a work session, you get to make a decision based on the input that we provide and the information we provide. And unfortunately, we don't have a good answer for the good suggestion that the chairman has made. Okay, can we swap these vehicles? On the one hand, if we buy a 550, that'll be using HERF monies. We have HERF monies available to do that. It would increase the capacity of what HERF can do with that vehicle. We would have a 350 that's already here that we wouldn't have to buy, that we could then equip. We just have to find the vendors that are able to make those changes. We were going to use vendors to make those changes as it is. We're buying something that's used by animal control in many places of the United States, and we were going to have someone equip the truck with that. I think it's fair for us to ask that this item be tabled, give us some time to think about this particular option and see how we go forward. Okay?
So I don't disagree, but one question for you guys is: are we up against a window again when it would come to purchasing one of these vehicles, or is that kind of settled out and a little more open now?
Well, at the start of the year, we were told it was back to normal. Order when you need to and do what you need to. But now with the UAW striking, I've been told that all orders are going to be affected. Possibly all of this year and all of next year's orders are probably going to be affected by this strike. So
I've kind of heard the same thing. It's already started. So we may have time to decide the best way out. I'm up for a motion.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm gonna make a motion. So if we approve this, you'd have to order the truck today or this week.
yeah,
And how long would it take to get here?
With the strike going on, I don't know that anyone could give me an honest answer.
Okay, so if we ordered one today, we don't know when we're gonna get it.
I believe that's correct.
And if you worked on the transfer that Supervisor Klein asked you to look at, how long would it take you to come up with whether you could or couldn't, or cost difference, or availability and that kind of stuff?
Not sure, but I could work on it. I know. Give me a couple weeks. I could probably come up with, see if
Okay.
I can even find a vendor that'd be willing to take this on.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking, because if it's only a couple weeks and we don't know when we'd get the truck if we ordered it anyway, then that would give 2 weeks of time to at least look at the recommendation.
All right.
And so, I guess with that question, I'll give a motion unless Supervisor
Go ahead.
Christensen would care to. Mr. Chair, I move to table this item until our next meeting to get a report. And John, thank you, and we will help you with a truck if I, in my opinion. And we're just not sure where, when, or how long it'll take us to get that.
Okay.
Okay, I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. David, thank you.
Thank you.
On to D, information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 060322, on-call pavement marking with Traffic Safety Incorporated to extend the contract term from September 20th, 23 to September 19th, 24, for a not to exceed the amount of $150,000 for a period of 1 year with the option of 2 one-year renewals. Homer?
Good morning, Chairman and board members again. Tom would be presenting this item and some of the other items. I'll be presenting for him. There is a Stagecoach Road pre-construction meeting taking place, and we flipped a coin. He lost, so he had to go to that meeting, and I'm here. So the agenda item is the request board approval for amendment number 1 to contract number 060322, 060322 for on-call pavement marking to Traffic Safety Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $150,000 from September of this year to September of next year. We normally have these contracts annually. The last time we did it, we selected Traffic Safety Incorporated to provide this service. Last year we spent $124,000 on traffic marking, and we expect to spend a similar amount this year, and therefore we're asking for the 150, not to exceed 150. So it's the recommendation for the Public Works that the Board of Supervisors approve amendment number 1, contract number 060322 for on-call pavement marking with Traffic Safety Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $150,000. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Homer. Supervisor Humphrey?
I'm just glad to hear that we're gonna be doing some chip sealing or roads that we're gonna need striping for. So I'm excited about that. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Supervisor Christensen?
Yeah, I have no comments, thanks.
And I'm good too as well, so I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve amendment number 1 to contract number 060322 with Traffic Safety Incorporated in the amount of $150,000, or not to exceed $150,000 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. On to E, information, discussion, action to adopt resolution number 23-09-06, authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement, AG contract number P0012023000948, with the state of Arizona acting through its Department of Transportation, allowing for distribution of appropriate state surplus funds in the amount of $243,000 or $243,600 to be used on the Highway Safety Improvement Project on Houston Mesa Road. Homero?
Thank you. This project is to provide 5-foot shoulders and install centerline and edge line shoulder rumble strips on 4.5 miles of Houston Mesa Road. It uses Highway Safety Improvement Program funding for the most part. We don't have a final estimate from the engineer. At this point in time, we will be presenting all that information later on. But we do know that we've asked ADOT to help us with additional funding, knowing that it's going to be more than the original budget. And actually, ADOT came through with $243,600 to help us fund any additional inflation-related expenditures that we will have on Houston Mesa Road. The ADOT is an initiative that they knew that the budget was inadequate, and on their own pursued this money for us and brought this to us, and so that's a kind of partnership sometimes that we find with ADOT, and we appreciate that. So with that, we'd like for the board to approve this IGA for Houston Mesa Road Improvement project.
Thank you, Homer. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, no questions.
Yeah, that's a good deal, Homer. Thank you for all that. And with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to adopt resolution number 23-09-06.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. On to F, information, discussion, action to approve contract number CTR 063953 with Santic Consulting Services Incorporated to provide engineering design services for the Monroe Street Improvement Project in the amount not to exceed $123,495.51. Homer, you're it again.
Thank you, Chairman. As all of you know, in order to leave the parking lot from the board chamber here and the courthouse and make a left-hand turn on Ash Street, you're not allowed to do that. You need to use Monroe Street. Monroe Street has a significant problem with it, a line of sight because of the hill that doesn't let you see oncoming traffic, and it has an immediate stop right after the hill. The county has in the past looked to see what they could do with Monroe Street and actually have started some engineering and funded some engineering projects in the past. We work with Stantec Consulting. They're under state contract. They've done other work here. They're doing the work for BHP and the hospital, the roundabout. They did the sidewalk work for Golden Hill. They're a reputable, good company, and we would like to use them. The work would include changes to that road elevation, reduce the hill as much as possible, and to blend it in with the adjacent parking lots, especially the one on Guerrero, the Guerrero building, and provide access to the parking lot adjacent to the courthouse. They will be using the work that has been done in the past, but it's been done by an engineering firm that is no longer functioning. How much of that they can use? There is, besides the road elevation, there's keystone walls that need to be built to retain the wall adjacent to Monroe Street, and there is some significant sewer lines that need to be relocated, and therefore the cost is $123,495.51 to do the engineering design, and we've worked with County Manager Mr. Manlove, and he has offered to be Monroe Street, by the way, is a county maintained road, and it is on our records as a county maintained road, and it's been like that for a long time. But because we are doing work on some accesses to the parking lot, and because it is a safety issue for county employees and others that visit us, county manager has agreed to help fund 50% of this design project. And with that, we'd like to request board approval so that we can proceed with this improvement to our facilities.
Thank you, Homer. Supervisor Humphrey?
Yeah, Omar, with retaining walls on the uphill and downhill side, are we gonna be able to widen that road any by dropping the elevation?
We can certainly consider that as part of the design.
Yeah, because right now it's really narrow, and like you say, when you come over, you can't see, and sometimes it's really difficult, and it's not very wide for the drop that it has. So I was just wondering, I don't know where our easements are on that, but I would hopefully they're wider than that road area is, And if we're gonna do retaining walls, it would be nice to be able to widen that as well.
Thank you. We will, the design, of course, kind of has been started, but it hasn't been started. We have a design from someone else, but there's no engineering firm will take that design and put their stamp on it, so they need to do their work, and the suggestion to maximize the width of Monroe Street is a very good one, and we'll take that back as part of their to-do list.
Thank you, Homero. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Chairman. I don't have any questions.
I'm good as well, Homero, so with that, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve contract agreement number CTR 063953 with Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated in the amount of $123,495.51 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. G, information, discussion, action for the Board of Supervisors by unanimous consent to approve the sale of a portion 1.56 acres of Gila County-owned parcel number 207-23-011K to Copper Valley Regional Medical Center, CVRMC, in the amount of $9,900, which is 90% of the appraised value, and authorize a chairman's signature on the related quitclaim deed conveying the property to Copper Valley. Homer?
Thank you. Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center has expressed an interest in buying the 1.56 acres. It's a portion of APN 207-23011K, and there's a legal description in the board agenda item, Exhibit A, that shows that particular portion. The intention for the Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center is to build a flood wall to protect the hospital infrastructure. In the storms following the Telegraph fire, they used Jersey barriers, K-rails, to protect their site, and it is at that approximate location where they would be building the flood wall. There's legal statutes that guide us on selling real property to nonprofits and government entities, as well as private citizens, and that's found in ARS 11251 paragraph 9, and it requires that if the property for sale is a real property, the board shall have the property appraised by an appraiser who is licensed or certified. The appraiser shall establish the market value for the property. The minimum acceptable bid for the purchase of the property shall be at least 90% of the market value. It goes on to state that a county, with unanimous consent of the board and without public auction, may sell or lease any county property for a specific use to any solely charitable, social, or benevolent nonprofit organization incorporated or operating in the state. Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center satisfies the requirements of a nonprofit. In addition to that, paragraph 9 also requires that the board deems advantageous for the county to sell, or that the board deems unnecessary, use by the county, that this property is not necessary for the county and it is advantageous for the county to take this action. That's not found in the board item, but I wanted to make sure that you understood that in making this decision, you're also making a decision that it is advantageous for us to do this, and that that property is unnecessary for use by the county. So that property is in a floodplain. It is also in an erosion setback area where you couldn't build. We use that property as a way of managing the waters that flow through that area. The appraiser realized that this was a floodway as well as an erosion setback area, and considered that in his appraisal. And for all of these reasons, staff would like to recommend that the board approve the sale to Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center, the 1.56 acres that are shown in the exhibit.
Thank you, Homer. With that, I will ask if you want to, do you have anything you want to speak, Copper Valley? I think it's my opinion is a good deal, but we'll go on. Supervisor Humphrey, comments, questions?
No, I just almost embarrassed to sell them this property to protect themselves.
I know it.
Floodwaters, because we, as a county, could not get funding to help with any of that Russell area, from rebuilding the road to protecting the APS to protecting the hospitals. We've been unable to obtain funding from the federal government to help us restructure our community, that we have to sell property to an entity to protect themselves because we can't. And I'm embarrassed to do this, but I support it 100%.
Do you want to say anything, Jessica? You're good.
Yeah, who would think that something so simple could be so complicated, just to help the hospital build a flood wall? But as one writer I read said, it was apparent when the legislature created the requirements for selling county property that they were afraid the county board of supervisors were going to give away county property to their friends. And so they created the statute, and that's what we have. We have to work within the framework of the statute that they gave us in order to sell property. There are a couple of things that I think it would be good if you include in the motion what Romero said about that it's either advantageous to the county to sell it, whether the board deems it necessary, and also that it's for the specific use of building a flood wall.
Thank you, Jeff, and I totally agree with your analysis of that statute. But, you know, it is crazy. Supervisor Christensen?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to do it. So, but whatever COBRA does with it's not going to affect the flow rates or anything, create a negative water diversion of some sort. It's just to protect them but not impact anyone else downstream.
Good question, and something we considered, and we looked at the designs that J. Fuller gave us, and this area is outside of their design requirements to contain the water from that flows right adjacent to the hospital.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. So I think, I agree with Supervisor Humphrey and everything, but the pendulum never stops in the middle. It goes from one extreme to another, so this is what we're up against. But needless, whether or not that's, you know, whatever it is, this will help the hospital secure that property, and it will help us. There's no doubt. So with that, if legal doesn't have anything else, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to sell a portion of parcel number 207-23-011K to Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center in the amount of $9,900 that the board has deemed it necessary to build a retaining wall to protect Cobra Valley Regional Medical Center.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Oh, you got one more, Homero. H, information, discussion, action to adopt Public Works Department policy number PWS-018- exempt employee emergency pay. Homer?
Thank you. Last year we had what I consider a wet winter. We were calling out our team to help with snow removal. So we have our folks work 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, and snow falls 24/7 when it wants to. Okay. Oftentimes the team would come out on a Friday and come out on a Saturday and come back on a Sunday, and then on Monday they would check to see what the weather forecast says. Weather forecast is unpredictable, often wrong. And so when they go to bed at night and there's potential for snow, they're conscious of that they could be called out or that they call themselves out. Our regional managers don't wait for me to tell them to come out. Our regional managers for the road yards act on their own on snow removal. We do during the week talk about what could happen, but they're the ones that make the call. It's time to go out. And usually the call is made on the side of safety. That is, there's a potential for the snow to impact traffic or school bus routes or school buses, etc. They err on the side of safety. Oftentimes when they come out, they don't come out at the regular start time at 6 o'clock. They're coming out at 3, 4 in the morning. So we have, our regional managers are employees that don't get paid overtime. And they're the first ones that I would depend on to make the call. One of the things that I think about is in making this, it's kind of like it's a little different than how we treat our exempt employees. And you would say, well, their salary, they should come out anyway. And I would say this: if James Manlove were to ask me to do something this Saturday, and I were to tell James, County Manager Manlove, and I were to say that that I have a wedding to go to, there would be some consideration for that, and we would probably say, fine, okay, go to your wedding. Well, I don't have that option with people when it's snow events. I need for them to come out. It's almost like mandatory. You don't have a choice, even though it's not your schedule. And I think it's only fair that these exempt employees, there's only two. There's two regional road yard managers that don't get paid when they answer the call for weather-related emergencies. And so what we're proposing here is that we pay them straight time for the time that they come out. If that time is approved by either the board through an emergency declaration or by the Director of Public Works. Now, as a for instance, the fire that took place on the landfill, in my opinion, that doesn't qualify. That's a one-time event. We answer it, and the next day we can come in late, or we can call somebody, or we can do different kinds of things. And so those one single events, for me, don't qualify. It's that continuous, what I saw continually last year that bothered me, to ask this one person to come out every day of the week and tell them you have to come out. I need you, we depend on you. And especially, this is especially difficult when we're short-staffed. And I can't tell you when we're gonna solve the staffing issue. It's a continuous turnstile for us on people. So out of a sense of fairness, out of a sense of right, out of a sense of rewarding the folks that are basically our first responders for these weather emergencies, we would like to ask the board to approve this policy.
Homer, thank you for doing this. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions. Thank you for bringing things to our attention. And that's all, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you. So, Homero, if I'm to understand, this would apply to people that don't get an hourly wage, they get a salary. And because of that, they would be paid extra for any extra time.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Homer, what you said is absolutely true, and we've seen it all the years I've been on this board. You know, I don't know how many Christmases, Thanksgivings, things of that nature our folks work through, you know, because of snow and weather and whatnot that goes on, that they really don't have a choice. And, you know, and so it's really good to try and pick up that slack and reward them for it, because you do have to ask a lot out of them when that's happening. So thank you for doing that. That I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to adopt Public Works Department Policy Number PWS-018.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. You almost have the whole page, Homer. Aye. Information, discussion, action to approve amendment number 2 to service agreement number 101122 with Meridian Engineering Company, increasing the contract by $153,569.43 for a new contract total amount of $3,097,137.28 and extending substantial completion time to October 8th, 2023, which allows for Arizona Department of Environmental Quality's approval and submission of final as-built for the Russell Gulch Landfill Stage 3A expansion project. Homero?
Thank you. The good news is that work's expected to be completed at the end of this week. They're putting down the final layer of earthen material on top of the membranes that protect the water from permeating through the soil. They worked this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We gave them an October 8th drop dead date, and they're taking that to heart. And they're working now, and we expect them to be done no later than Friday. At that time, we would expect as-bills to be delivered to us by Monday morning so that we can go to ADEQ and ask for the permit, and hopefully in a couple of weeks, we can open the landfill. We are receiving material at the landfill right now. We're not hauling from the landfill anymore. We're storing it, waiting for cell 3A to be available so that we can put the material in cell 3A. This request for an amendment to the contract is based on finding another issue that was not picked up in the design of the cell. The first thing that we brought to you was the limit of waste, that people had violated the limit of waste, that they had actually put solid waste outside of the boundary of the original landfill. And so when we discovered that, we had to redesign how we were putting down the membrane. It cost us money for the redesign and money to do the additional. We had to undo some work and then redo new work. In this particular case, the great amount of water that was received in the springtime actually created the perch water table to collect water. And they had examined that in the past and had found no water, and therefore the design did not allow for any way to remove the water. Having found the water, we have to put in a sump pump and the line up the hill that runs the water out of the bottom of the pit of the landfill. And that's what we're paying for with this second amendment that we're bringing to you. So with that, I'll request that amendment number 2 to contract 101122 for Meridian Engineering Company that will increase the funding by $153,569.43 for a total contract of $3,097,137.28, and to extend the termination date to October 8th, 2023 so we can proceed with the final ADEQ approval upon receiving the as-bills. So with that, we ask for your approval and happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Homer. Supervisor Humphrey?
I have no questions. I just hope that that shows that what going outside the boundaries can cost us at some point in time. So as we go forward, I hope that people ask more questions and do things as they're supposed to, because it sure costs a lot if they don't.
Supervisor Christensen?
Thank you, Homero. Yeah, I have a lot more confidence in our current leadership preparing for future things with the landfill, that we don't have to keep paying for past planning, past policy, past mistakes, whatever. So thank you, Homero.
Thanks, Homero, for fixing all that. With that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve amendment number 2 to service agreement number 101122 with Meridian Engineering Company as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Homer.
Thank you.
On to J, information, discussion, action to approve professional services contract number 081723 with elections, systems, and software in the amount of $52,520.66 from April 18th, 23 through April 17th, 24, with the option for 3 additional one-year renewals to be utilized for maintenance services on elections equipment. Maren?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Supervisor Humphrey, Supervisor Christensen. This morning I'm here for our elections department. This service agreement with election system and software will provide us with maintenance on our existing elections equipment. The reason that it's coming to you in October for an April renewal is that the amount exceeded the $50,000 contract standard, so it had to go through the full process instead of the shorter process. So we are here this morning for your signature on the contract.
Thank you, Maren. Supervisor Humphrey?
No questions or comments.
Supervisor Christensen?
I'm good. Thank you, Mayor.
We're good, Marin. Thank you. So with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve professional services contract number 081723 with Election Systems and Software in the amount of $52,520.66 as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Marin.
Thank you.
On to consent agenda action items. It's number 5, A through K. Do either one of you wish to address anything or pull anything off?
Mr. Chair, I'm good.
I'm fine.
And I am as well, so I'd entertain a motion on that.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept consent agenda items A through K.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. 6, call to the public. Do we have anyone in Payson, Joseph?
No, sir.
Okay, and we do not hear. Do we have anybody on YouTube? How many do we get up to? Okay, cool. And so with that, we'll move on to number 7 for our updates. James, do you have anything you care to update us on?
Mr. Chairman, if I can, there's a couple items that I wanted to share with you. One is the County Supervisors Association Legislative Policy Summit that occurs next week in Flagstaff. I believe all 3 of you are attending. As a part of that, there are a number of statewide issues that CSA will be presenting, but then there are individual county issues that there will be for consideration, 14 of them, a number of them by Gila County. Gila County does have a couple of those, and I wanted to make sure that we are aware of those and what is our expectation is for our presentation. First one is item number 10 is the required identification, cash payment of property taxes. This is something that's been identified for quite some time with Supervisor Humphrey, and Supervisor Humphrey will be presenting. Don't want to steal your thunder, but we'll be addressing the group regarding this issue and addressing blight for certain blighted property and being able to find somebody that's accountable. Second one is to number 11, streamline locality purchase for state land. This we have discussed of having the ability for governments to purchase state land. But right now it's all treated as if we are a developer that's looking to turn state lands into developed properties for selling for real estate, for homes and such, which is not our case in property that we're hoping to look at by the fairgrounds. The preferred is, and I don't have a person from one of the 3 of you yet to present this. If one of you, if you want to just turn it over to me, I can explain it and have that discussion. Preference by CSA is to have a supervisor, because Jacob Emnett with CSA, he will read the summary that he has and then turn it over to the county to have the opportunity to give any additional details, any additional information, which Supervisor Humphrey will do on the first one. If there either of you or either of you want to present that, have that discussion. If not, you can turn it over to me and I can present that issue. That is something that
I would suggest the chairman do it. Oh, that's me.
I have no problems with that.
Yeah. I just need to get all the information. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll volunteer for that. Yeah.
Perfect. And that may be something that we end up going to get some sort of legislation by the policy development group, and just have specific legislation that we say, okay, legislation is passed to sell this property at fair market value to Gila County for uses of these specific purposes, which is how we purchased the original fairgrounds. And that bypasses all the rigmarole and all the investments that we would have to put in, and then potentially lose the property if it's open up to an actual auction. So it's just not it's an apples and orange deal, and the statutes are all written for apples, but we're oranges. So there's that. that's coming up next week. On those packets, I did notice an email that they have provided hard copies in the past. CSA's wanting to cut down on their paper and how much printing they do. So if you do want hard copies to take with you to the summit, then go ahead and have staff here do those hard copies before you get there. Okay?
Absolutely.
Sherry, would you help make sure we, thank you. And I'm going to say one other thing, that I had a meeting yesterday that, about economic development. I've long struggled with economic development in Gila County because we have a number of entities, cities and towns, the IDA, Southern Gila EDC, Northern Gila EDC, and all these different entities. And I'm not really certain who does what and how we can work together. So I met yesterday to have potentially a forum, working towards a forum in March that would bring all those entities, all the governments together to have a discussion on what we are doing for economic development, how we can partner, how we can work together, how we can make what we have, our resources here in Gila County, to be able to tell a story better and make those available. So that's not for about 6 months, but it's going to take that long because we would expect well over 100 to 200 people to participate and attend that event. So working towards that. Hold it in Payson. We've got permission, requested to be able to hold it at the school district, the Payson Unified School District, in their facilities, because with that many people, there's not really a lot of other options. So did you want to make aware of that so that we can have that discussion as we go forward of economic development and what we want to look at that? Can I do one more final thing, Chairman?
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking to Neil Jensen with the hospital CEO and got some news about Gila County Provisional Community College District, and there's some new issues that I understand that there are, and so I requested with Dr. Brocker and Janice Lawhorn, the president or the interim president for the college, a meeting which will be held this Thursday in my office. The reason I bring it up is that there's another board member that is planning to come, and so this is something that we're to the point that this may impact the board and where you go as a board of supervisors, because there are some issues that the board of supervisors can look into, may perhaps address with regard to the community college district. So at 1 o'clock, if more than one of you would like to attend that meeting in my office, we would need to post it. It's just to gather information. I'm just requesting an update of where the college is at in their process and to get that information. So I want to inform you, let you know. And if any of you want to participate, if more than one, we need to post that and let you know that there will be a quorum for that meeting.
So, James, what you're saying is then this is just more of a, I can't.
Apologize. We can't have a discussion here about any of the updates.
Okay, but I mean, what I'm hearing is it's an informational meeting, right?
Informational meeting. I'm asking for an update from Dr. Brocker and Dr. Lawhorn.
And then, may I?
Perhaps meet with James after the meeting and have that discussion, because this was not on the agenda. We can't have a discussion about it.
No, I understand, but what I'm trying to weigh out here is whether I need to take the time to try and be there at that informational meeting, or if James is bringing it forward to the board at a future date.
Right. I suggest having that conversation after the meeting.
Right on. We'll do that. Go ahead, Supervisor Humphrey, unless I just settled your question.
Well, I'm going to be in line after this meeting for questions of James. So, yeah, I'm not going to get in trouble. You already did, so I'm just going to.
I'm good at that, Kim, so.
I thank you for letting me indulge. You're all three to get together, and it's an important activity. Education is critical in Gila County. I know that's important to each of you. And so that's why I shared this meeting coming up, that it is occurring. And make sure that you're all three are aware that it is occurring.
Thank you, James. Supervisor Humphrey, you're next.
Yeah, I walked Campaign Creek with the people that are doing the grant we put in for buyout money on homes there that continuously get water when Campaign Creek runs. And so that was a good walk with staff, engineers, Homero. And so I felt good about it, because why would they send out people to walk through that if they're not looking to perhaps fund that grant at some point in time? So then, you know, to assess the property, a great turnout, my Tono Basin community meeting, and I have another one tonight. The last one was, and so anyway, I have that meeting this evening out there, and then next Monday have my Roosevelt meeting, and I'll be on KQSS. And so, anyway, that's about it.
Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'll plan on being at that meeting, James, just to let you know. And if you could provide me as much information, paper or otherwise, on the CSA, that's just next week. I mean, it's rolling up fast. So I wanted to keep everybody kind of updated on what we're doing with the Hash Knife Monument. We poured concrete on Friday. I got to commend Levi Amon. He volunteered to do that. It turned out to be an all-day long event, 9 yards of concrete. I mean, after the apocalypse, that concrete will still be there. It's just unbelievable. So we are planning on having the ceremony October 27th, and we're going to get this out to everybody. We just haven't put it together, but we're working on it. It'll be at 2 o'clock, and that seemed to be the best time for everybody. So we're going to have speakers. If you'd like to speak, let me know. If you're not going to be there, that's fine. It's just going to be a dedication ceremony. And so everything's proceeding pretty well with that. I think we got the plans all figured out. And I don't know that I have anything else right now. Thank you.
You bet, Steve. And so last week, me and Kathy and Cameron Davis were on KMOG in Payson for the forum, talking about the event, fundraising event that's coming up at Majestic Rim Institute in Payson, and about the vet center. So it was a really good forum that hour, and really enjoyed it, having the other two folks there as well. We had some people calling in, asking questions. That went really well. Yesterday, I met with Janet Dean and another guy, Joe, I can't think of his last name. They're with APS, higher up in APS. They wanted to tour the vet center. We took them through that, looked at it all, had really good conversation with them. Today is the first group that's coming through the vet center. No, tomorrow. No, today. They should be there anytime. There's about 15 to 20 motorcycle riders coming through there, veterans. They're going to spend the night, and then they're going to move on. They're making some kind of a route around on their bikes. I'm supposed to meet with them at 5 o'clock this evening to talk about the site after they've had a chance to look at it and see how they could possibly help with us in the future and everything for this. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. Other than that, I think I'm good. Do anyone have anything else? You good? Thanks, James. And so with that, congratulations on the chairmanship, and I'll adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
And with that, you get the hammer that I...